Because of the effective organizational structure of the CCGA, the Canadian Coast Guard is able to keep up-to-date information on active auxiliarists and can match a distress call to the nearest CCGA unit or member almost instantly. Reaction is fast. Lives depend on it. Though the CCGA works with all organizations in Canada who are involved in search and rescue activities, their closest ties are with the Canadian Coast Guard. The Department of Fisheries and Oceans Canada, through the Canadian Coast Guard, provides basic funding and support to the CCGA for its operations. This covers ongoing training for its members in SAR procedures, administration costs, insurance protection and reimbursement for operating expenses while on authorized SAR missions. In exchange, the auxiliary provides the Coast Guard with 4,000 trained volunteers and a fleet of 1,400 well-maintained and strategically located vessels, with a combined asset value of over $215 million. And because auxiliarists are only reimbursed for out-of-pocket expenses when tasked to a SAR mission, the federal government receives the equivalent of $30 in services from the CCGA for every dollar actually invested in the auxiliary. In other words, these volunteers save Canadian taxpayers millions by providing services at a fraction of the cost of maintaining the same number of full-time Coast Guard units and equipment at the ready. In addition, the CCGA's availability for Marine SAR duties means the Coast Guard can coordinate their own emergency resources more efficiently, as well as carry out their many other duties and responsibilities. In order to be prepared when that call comes, regional CCGAs organize competitions for their members, designed to keep them current on the types of emergencies they might face. CCGA regional competitions, like this one, held in Sorel, Quebec, are one of the best ways to provide members with exposure to the unique SAR requirements of each territory. The Laurentian region, which encompasses all of the province of Quebec, has a high percentage of call-outs due to pleasure boat incidents. One of the scenarios members took part in during the competition was providing first medical response to victims injured in a personal watercraft accident. The victims used special effects makeup and prosthetics to add realism to the emergency. Rescuers were evaluated on their examination and first aid treatment of the victims. These kinds of exercises serve to sharpen the skills of CCGA members and promote teamwork, important elements to a SAR operation when faced with the real thing. CCGA Newfoundland region responds to over 40% of all marine SAR cases at sea in their area of responsibility each year. Although no case is typical, many are the result of the deterioration of the fishing industry. Too many fishermen in small vessels, originally designed for inshore fishing, are now forced to fish in distant offshore waters in order to earn a living, sometimes with disastrous consequences. Although the Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary is deeply involved on both coasts, it is equally active in Canada's heartland. Over 1/3 of the 4,000 CCGA members are actually located inland on waterways across the country. Their visibility is growing. The CCGA actively promotes its unique identity and its mandate to the public through the media, as well as at public events. They participate in over 150 boat shows and exhibitions each year and conduct over 2,700 courtesy vessel checks at marinas and yacht clubs throughout their operating area. Courtesy vessel checks involve inspections of all safety equipment required by law on board, including such items as personal flotation devices, life jackets, fire extinguishers, flares, sound signaling devices, and navigation lights.
Navigation lights are on, that's good.
The idea is boating safety through education, and it is a priority with the CCGA. The growth in pleasure boating has meant more people on the water with less experience and less knowledge of safe seamanship. The CCGA is working hard to educate people on safe boating practices in order to prevent accidents and loss of life before they occur. Not all disasters are preventable. Human error, unanticipated changes in weather conditions, or freak accidents continue to challenge SAR resources.
We have a fire on our lower Cardiff. Reporting
Each year, Canada's search and rescue community coordinates exercises to test SAR resources and keep professionals and volunteers ready for any emergency. One such exercise took place in British Columbia in February of 1999. The incident, a simulated fire on board a coastal ferry with 400 people on board. The objective, evacuate all passengers and crew and implement damage control measures. Numerous ferry accidents have taken place in parts of Europe and Southeast Asia with extensive loss of life. Canada wanted to ensure that if a similar occurrence ever happened here, it would not turn into tragedy. Search and rescue contingents from the Canadian Forces, Canadian Coast Guard, Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary, the United States Coast Guard, and others participated in this staged event. The CCGA Pacific region provided boats and crews for the rescue flotilla, and its members also served as injured victims for the evacuation. This major exercise was a resounding success and provided major insights into coordinating rescue agencies and evacuating survivors in the event of a real ferry mishap. The Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary is recognized as one of the best, safest, and most cost-effective volunteer marine rescue organizations in the world, with numerous national and international awards to its credit. In 1998, the CCGA's Chief Executive Officer, Harry Strong, was presented with the Outstanding SAR Achievement Award, Canada's highest SAR honor, for his extraordinary contribution to search and rescue in Canada. The CCGA also plays an integral role in the worldwide SAR community. The CCGA has signed a Memorandum of Agreement with the United States Coast Guard Auxiliary to promote joint efforts in search and rescue initiatives. And the CCGA is an active and involved contributing partner in the International Lifeboat Association. The Canadian Coast Guard Auxiliary is a federally incorporated non-profit organization with fundamental humanitarian goals, which is accountable to the Government of Canada and the Canadian Coast Guard. Its volunteer membership has grown over 300% in the past 20 years. The CCGA follows decisive business and strategic plans in order to pursue the ambitious and measurable goals they set and achieve each year. They already have an enviable track record responding to SAR incidents. Their intervention has contributed to saving 94% of those whose lives were at risk in marine incidents. A remarkable achievement by any standard. In order to accomplish more, they need better protection for their members and to be better equipped for any emergency. That takes additional funding. Funding not provided by government. As well, their aim is to be even more active in the area of prevention and boating safety, to lower the number of incidents before they occur. But even involvement in boating safety has development costs for things like promotional and training materials. Federal funding, however, really only covers direct operating expenses and insurance. It is not enough. Most equipment purchases, like searchlights and personal flotation suits, come from fundraising, donations, and other charitable contributions, as well as the auxiliarists' own pockets. More is needed to support the CCGA in their constant fight to help others and prevent tragedies on the water. Because for many who find themselves in the life-threatening grip of disaster, their only hope for survival are these unsung heroes, good Samaritans of the sea.